So, as always, starting with who we are, this is me, Mostrino. This is my voice.
Hey, I'm Kovac for the fourth time. Third time? Third time.
Fourth time.
I think
Fourth
that yeah,
time.
that's the fourth. And I'm Cats.
Nice. So, starting off how we always start out with the past week's releases, we have
hmm
Monday's Don't You Say You Love Me, which we talked a little bit about before, but not as much in detail. I honestly, it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. It wasn't like the bad style of Gammer, but it's
Yeah.
not great. I think it's the weakest of the week, but I didn't dislike it.
Yeah, I think
I agree with you.
it's very much like the basic, like run of the mill happy hardcore song, and really the only thing that you could point out as being unique is the melody, and I think the melody in the drop is really nice, but that's really all I can say about it. Other than that, it's pretty basic.
Yeah.
I mean, me personally, I really enjoy hardcore and happy hardcore, so that's probably why I like the track quite a bit. But it's fairly standard, so
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
it's like nothing too impressive or outstanding. But I do have to agree that the melody is pretty nice and pretty cool.
I will say, just on the mention of Gammer, I'll probably have like never have a time to mention this again. But Gammer has a collab, an unreleased collab with Hudson Mohawk, which is some of the most insane trap I've ever heard. And I
Ooh.
want that to release so bad, but it got teased like a year ago and never happened.
Yeah,
Gamer track.
cause I remember there was also that not with Gamma, but it was Stonebank and Hixie. Did that ever come out?
Nope.
Yeah, I remember that one was teased ever since Hixie was on that like Saving Light pack or whatever, and
Oh yeah.
it just never came to light.
Not gonna lie, it probably would have just turned out like this new song.
True. So now pulling up the Lights Out EP, this is the first time we have something that's not a single that we're talking about on here, which is pretty neat. We'll just go track by track. The first one on there is 351. For me, I think it's nice, but I find it really comfortable for Cloud9. Like, yeah, it's a nice track, but I don't think it's anything new for him.
I'd say it's nothing new, but it's my personal favorite of the AP. It just feels really nice and it progresses like so nicely.
Hmm.
It's so clean.
Reminds me a lot of Lido, or however it's pronounced. That's the one that
Yeah,
yeah.
but like a bit less kick and beat centered. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
Yeah.
Ditto has like that focus on the garage type beat, and this focus is more on like the chord progressions, and that's
Hmm.
what I find that's really cool. Right
Yeah.
now, I prefer it over Margarita, but that's probably a recency bias. So
Uh-huh.
351 reminds me a lot of Urban Foxes, but less like unnaturally upbeat for Cloud9's style. I think that's at least that's what I get from it.
Hmm.
I enjoy it quite a bit because the only criticism I had of Urban Foxes was that it was like too upbeat and happy for his style.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, 351 has like that perfect blend of like no vocals and stuff, but it still feels pretty emotional.
Hmm.
mhm.
Yeah, personally, for me, I don't see myself coming back to it too much in the future, but I do enjoy it. I just find it to be, yeah, a little less memorable just because it's like the tried and true Cloud9 in my eyes. So then the second one, we have Speed Run, which is a little more of a fun one. Again, I don't think it's too different for Cloud9, but you know, it's got it like a different tone, like the kind of like upbeat, like you mentioned with Urban Foxes, but not so much.
Mhm. I this is like the first time on the or I guess really the second time on the label that we really get like this very start stop glitchy-ish garage, the first time being like give and take by direct.
Oh,
And
that's
I
good. Yeah.
like I really love that style, so I'm really happy that this kind of style is back on the label.
Hmm.
Speedrun is a really good track, and I've seen a lot of comments and comparisons to like a mix of Margarita and Mojito,
Hmm.
like a
Mhm.
mix between those two tracks, and I agree.
Yeah.
And honestly, Speedrun is a really great track. It's like it feels like Cloud None is really like taking his style to a much more like upbeat and houseier
Yeah.
style. If that wasn't evident enough with Margarita or Wish EP.
Hmm. It reminds me a bit of I guess, of his older stuff like Welcome to London and None Trick Pony with that kind of style, because that was never too somber or anything. It was still kind of fun. So I think that this is definitely quite similar to that. And then, I mean, this is a re-release, but we haven't talked about it before. I know Katz was talking about how he's moving to a house style, but one of the most evident ones is this next track, Lights Out, the title track, which is my personal favorite. It's nowhere near Cloud9's best in my opinion, but I find it's such a fun track and very catchy and groovy.
Yeah.
I'd say it's not my favorite of the EP right now, but it'll probably be my favorite for a while, because it's not my favorite right now, sure, but that's probably, again, recency bias. And the fact that I listened to it over 60 times, I think, the month it came out. Yeah. I'm about to reach 700 plays on Cloud9 as a whole, starting counting September last year. So,
wow.
Like my most listened to artist by a mile.
Dang.
Yeah. I don't know, something in especially Lights Out I find so addicting, like the use of the vocals and the drop. It's like, yeah, that's a turn off for a lot of people, but me personally, I love it.
Yeah, I think it works well, and it reminds me of I don't know if you guys remember this one. I think Danica Nadeau was in this track as well, but The Only Road by Resonate, back when he had that EP, it reminds me a bit of that one, which I really enjoy. So I like getting that kind of a style again, even if it's from an unexpected artist.
What this really reminds me of, I'm not sure if you heard it, but it's a track by Burial and Fortet called Moth, which has like a very similar synth style, or like, I guess, I'm not sure if it's like a synth or a bass in the drop, but it's like this very long minimal house song that's like one of my favorite songs of all time.
And then the next one being Loner, which I think, I don't remember On Holiday at all, to be honest, but I know I don't like it as much as Clapham Rain. It's a nice track, but at the end, for me, it kind of feels like missed potential, because the melody's really nice, but he never, goes all out with it.
I just want to see Cloud9 just go and full out make an ambient track. Like,
yeah, that would be so good.
Yeah.
And then this last one, which is my personal second favorite, close first, is Miss Being Happy. It really reminds me of Direct's old stuff on the label, like really old stuff like Essence and Eternity, which I've been kind of sleeping on for a long time, but that's like a sound that we haven't had on the label for a long time, with like the dubstep with like the plucky type. So I thought that was really neat to see. And the vocals I really like as well.
The vocals are amazing. Yeah. And the chord progression again has such they fit so well with the vocals. Which is something that Cloud9 usually nails in every single track.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Cloud9 paired with a good vocalist is overpowered.
True.
The only thing that I would say is that if Cloud9 doesn't end up going in like a house direction, I'd say like this kind of style would be like his next progression, just because like I guess that like a lot of like the closers on his various EPs are a bit of an indication of like what's to come from him.
Yeah, I would like to see a lot more of this from him, and maybe in like with future direct collabs perhaps. That could be neat to see. Because I really do like, Margarita and Mojito, that kind of house style, but this is really refreshing as well. So really, I'm fine either way with whichever way he goes. I'll be happy with.
I mean, like each Cloud9 EP that we've been getting right now has been like a slightly different style, and that feels so refreshing.
Yeah. Personally, I feel like this one wasn't, with the exception of Lights Out and Miss Being Happy, I feel like it wasn't as inventive as Wish. But I still think that, those two were definitely highlights. And of course, the other tracks, none of them were bad. I can't actually think of a single bad Cloud9 track, unless I'm forgetting something wacky. But yeah, it's...
I mean, my personal least favorite is Bad Boy, but that's nowhere near bad, so...
As Bad Boy. It's nowhere near as bad as Bro.
One last thing to add, I can't wait for the Cloud9 direct Mr. Fiji Exists strategy and Matt Van collab.
True. Honestly, that
featuring Danica Nadeau.
Yes.
Like, even just like a Mr. Fiji Ouija and Cloud9 collab, just them two, Depending on what style of Feige it is, because he's had some misses, I won't lie. But if it's one of his best styles, it could literally be like track of the year.
Imagine like Miss Being Happy meets Aphasia. That would be
Bruh.
incredible. That would be amazing. Like actual top 10 label material.
I know there's so much potential there, but I believe he's going through like grad school or whatever, so he's only yeah. He released his first track in like half a year, a month ago, and then he released one more, which was his remix of Aaron Richards' cover of Numb. So he's been doing a little bit with her, but yeah, I think he's either he's in it or he just finished, and he's gonna be more active, or it's still a few years to go. But yeah, the guy's crazy. I can't even believe like back when he made Aphasia. Like it's not even like he's been producing for that long, and he's still making like incredible tracks from the get-go.
And all of his like some of his original house tracks are pretty underrated in my opinion.
Entropy and Out on a Limb, really good.
Yeah.
I mean, Let Me Out and Stop at Nothing I didn't care for as much, but the other two are quite good. All right,
Moving on to
Chasing Clouds, which we mentioned like vocals in the drop, and I think this one, at least in my opinion, does it even better than Lights Out, because when you have some amazing vocals with bad computer production, it's a really catchy track, and it's so cool with all the the bad computer sound design we know and love. I think it's a perfect combo.
it feels weird to like continuously give the same artist really really high ratings, but it's bad computer and he's been on a roll this year, so
True.
I'm genuinely worried that like Bad Computer's gonna jump ship with Monster Cat and like go on to like a major house label.
Bad Computer on Armada Deep. Oh no.
I could, not a house label, but I could almost see him on like Young Turks, which is like a British label with like Jamie XX and like Quest and like other stuff that's sort of like this.
Yeah, but I think this might be either this or Riddle's probably my favorite from him from this year, because he's like Ket's mentioned, he's been on a roll recently.
2U's still probably my favorite, but this gets really close, like really really close.
Following it, because we got a full weekdays releases this week. This one's actually my favorite of the week, although Chasing Clouds was close, but Dilemma by Pixel Terror. They did it again. A super melodic and impactful track. And it's just another Pixel Terror hit in my eyes.
I don't know how they keep doing it, but they never miss.
True.
Chroma was kind of whack, but I still enjoy it.
Chroma's probably my least favorite from them. It's not bad, but I definitely think that it could have been quite a bit better. I know a lot of people have something like, I don't know, like Maxima or something as their least favorite, but I do actually enjoy their bro step, which is weird because the majority of the bro stuff on the label I don't like, but if it's like Xylent or Pixel Terror, it's good.
Something about Pixel Terror's production style is so appealing to me personally. Like their tracks are so fun, even like Maxima at its weakest points. You can still hear like the Pixel Terror influence coming to save the track. Like of those last final screechy drop, it's still pretty okay. Because you have like all those Pixel Terror like pixelated sounds and all that. Makes it bearable.
Hear me out. This will Bad Computer and Pixel Terror Soda Style.
That'd be wild.
You're gonna make me nut.
Match made in heaven, bro.
Yeah. Soda is still my personal favorite Pixel Terror track. Enigma is a close second.
I think my favorite is still Machina. They haven't really had any that blow all the other ones out of the water, but they've had like a handful that are really good. And Machina and Ultima are definitely some of those.
For me, it's probably like
up there.
Probably like for me, it's either like Amnesia, Enigma, or Nebula. I think is really underrated.
Oh wait, I'm an idiot. I forgot that Enigma was a thing. That's my favorite from them. I completely forgot about that EP. Yeah, that's my favorite. That is such a good track. Dang.
Enigma is amazing. Yeah.
I will say one thing about Dilemma is that I think it's way too short in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think similar to New World, I think the drum and bass drop could have been a bit better, but it doesn't
Yeah.
bring the track down. It just doesn't make it better, you know?
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah. It exists.
Dilemma, to me, like my first impression was like, oh, this track could belong in a montage. Like
Yeah.
it would fit perfectly in a montage, in my opinion,
True.
because it's so hype and the vocals and everything, and then the drum and bass drop.
All right. And then last one of the week, we have Animal by Vice Tone. And I know this might be a bit of a wacky opinion. This wasn't, like I mentioned, Don't Say You Love Me or Don't You Say You Love Me or whatever was my least favorite. This one's my second least favorite, and I know most people usually don't like Vice Tone, but I am really into Vice Tone, and I'd say this is probably their weakest, in my opinion, since way back. But then immediately, probably one of like the Elements tracks or Waiting or Ran Out of Reasons is probably worse for one of you guys, but I do enjoy those ones. And this one I think is weaker, but not bad.
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to like I'm like suddenly like remembering all like these Vice Tone tracks like Waiting feels like they're all so like very forgettable with like some little Vice Tone like standard motifs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like I guess comparing this to like Throttle, anyone doing a drinking game to this, take a shot. One of us mentioned Throttle in this episode, but like Throttle like took a break from Spinnin' to deviate from his standard style and to try new things and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
While Vice Tone, since leaving Spinnin', hasn't changed in the slightest.
Should do more stuff like Landslide. I don't know if you guys have heard.
Oh,
of it.
Landslide's a
Landslide is
good
amazing.
one. Yeah, I guess the thing with me is that I really like their style, so even if it's samey, I just like it, you know. But if someone who doesn't like it and it's all the same kind of thing, especially if you don't like the vocals, that can easily ruin the track for you. But I mean, since I'm into it, I'm into all their stuff. But for someone who's probably not into it, then a lot of their stuff, aside from maybe like Walk Through Fire, would be a miss.
I'm more into their Walk Through Fire Nevada type stuff.
Mm-hmm. Like their Future House type.
Yeah.
Way Back is pretty solid too. That might be like a whack opinion, but I like it. And
I like it.
Animal was kind of underwhelming.
Yeah.
I still enjoy it, but it's
Mhm.
like a 6.
Yeah.
After me, it's like high 4, low 5, like extremely forgettable, and I'll probably
Low
never
5.
listen to it again.
Yeah, 6 for me is like, yeah, I enjoy it, but wouldn't really come back to it.
Mm-hmm. So now that we've gone through the week, I know I mentioned mine, but what are your guys' favorite and least favorite from the week?
Probably favorite for me is Chasing Clouds by like a decent margin with like Dilemma behind it, and then least favorite is by far Animal.
Probably right now my favorite two are 351 and Miss Being Happy.
Mm-hmm.
And my least favorites Animal, but I still kind of enjoy it. So
Yeah, I won't lie. Animal definitely could have been a bit better. I don't dislike it, but yeah, definitely not their strongest swing here. What I will mention, because we were talking about way back, is I'm sure you guys remember the remix. I don't know if you guys remember how it goes, but I re-listened to it
Not
recently,
really.
and it was a bit better than I had remembered. I actually enjoy it more than the original, so it's worth checking out. They reposted it on their SoundCloud, but yeah, it's a pretty nice remix. Okay, so then, yeah, I think it was Fences and Something Strange that people did not like that much. I think it shouldn't be too hard to agree that the remixes are not as strong as the original. I don't know if they're... I mean,
absolutely.
yeah, that was quite a weak remix pack.
I think we've talked about this before, but yeah, you have Sabai Eminence's probably weakest track ever.
True.
Zach Martino one is fine, and then somebody who literally rigged a remix contest.
Yeah, the Zach Martino remix was definitely the only one that I enjoyed because it was like the original but better. But yeah, you got Eminence's worst since United. Like,
oh yeah, United exists.
like that's kind of a... Have they released anything since that remix on the label?
Not on the label. They've been
Okay.
released. I think they've been leading up to an EP off label, but
Yeah, because I know they had Children of the Night, and I think another one on their that they released like independently or somewhere else or whatever.
yeah, they have a few new independent ones.
You guys want to start going over the throwbacks that we have in here? We have some ones that they have had their anniversary this past week, but we're only doing Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So that started from the top. This one was kind of shocking because when I had joined the label, this was the most recent Pegboard Nerds track. But Swamp Thing turned 5 years old this past week, and
Bruh.
I have no idea how
Bruh.
it's that old, bro.
Bruh. Holy shit. Something's a banger though.
Yeah, it's a really good track. Super catchy and a whole lot of variation. Definitely a strong one from the Pegboard Nerds or however they pronounce it in the intros of the songs.
Pegboard man. I think I've never seen like Swamp Thing is like good, but I've never seen it as like one of their best. It's
Yeah.
like very forgettable for me.
Yeah, I mean they have so many solid ones that I'd agree there, but Swamp Thing is definitely one that I do enjoy quite a bit. It's a very quite a fun track to say the least.
Yeah, I just don't really have much to say about this. It's like it's got a good banjo sample, and that's it.
Pump it up. Have you guys seen the music video?
I think so.
Yeah, for Swamp Thing. I remember I watched it a long time ago. It wasn't really that interesting. It was kind of wacky. It was like the animated Pegboard Nerds 3D characters, like just like running on like cars or whatever. I don't remember it that well, but that's a thing that exists for sure. Another one, I think this was released on not the same day, but like like the same date as Swamp Thing was People Say, which is turning 8 years, which isn't as crazy for me because that was old when I joined and it's old now, so it's always just been old. But I re-listened to it and it sounded more dated than I had remembered, but I think it has a very solid concept, and if it had a remaster, it could be like a slapper. But as it is right now, definitely not something I'd come back to.
It's a solid track, but the date. Yeah, it's dated, so it's not that great.
Yeah, it's very much like that one Faint and Boy in a Band track that I forget the name of.
True.
Yeah.
Time Bomb.
Where like it would be probably like one of the best like tracks from Monster Cat's early years if it had decent mixing.
Yeah, that one's kind of I mean, they're not gonna go back to it, but it would be really nice if they did and they remade it. Cause, I mean, I don't want to say with certainty that it would be amazing because, to be honest, most of Faint's recent stuff hasn't been too strong for me. But if they do it right, then it can be really good. That whole compilation, 007, is like, it's kind of almost weirdly like really good because it's like 008 isn't nearly as good as 007, neither is like 006. It's like, did everyone just decide to go all, like even Obsidia had his strongest track on that compilation. Like, did everyone decide to just go all out for, I don't know. It's kind of a wacky bit of Monster Cat history, but I think it's generally regarded as their strongest early compilation if you're looking like before like 013 or whatever. Yeah, you have so many classics there. You have Reasons, Disconnected.
The Other Day, Breakdown.
Oh yeah, Breakdown's a classic. Even if it's not too great, it's still a classic. It's an iconic Monster Cat track.
Waking Dreams, IDK, Next Big Thing.
Waking Dreams is my favorite of that year on the label.
As well as House, which got deleted. But
oh yeah, House is so good. So I think moving on, we got Jump turning 3 years, and I'm kind of in the minority here, but I do not like that track. I kind of dislike it. I don't hate it or anything, but I never got into it, and I mean I can't really see the appeal, but I know a lot of people like that style of Drulu, so I can at least see where they're coming from.
yeah, I like like it was probably the first track on the label that like had come out recently that I listened to and like loved. Like it's probably still like top 50 on the label for me, and it's like like high 9, borderline 10. I just like love Drulu's like early stuff in that phase, like from Bon Voyage to A Moment in Time.
Because, yeah, I really liked... Okay, I love A Moment in Time, aside from the intro, but that's because of the sample or whatever. We won't worry about that. And I really loved Bon Voyage. And what was the other one that they did on... Oh, yeah, Collisions. That's not a popular one regardless, but I really loved Bon Voyage. But Jump was such a miss for me. Yeah, Bon Voyage is really good.
I like Jump quite a bit, but it's definitely weaker than Bon Voyage, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, same, but that isn't saying much because Bon Voyage is my favorite track on the label.
Bon Voyage is a masterpiece.
It's like, it's probably the closest thing to like perfection in music that the label will ever get.
It is. I won't lie. It's really good though. It has variety, but like the variety isn't forced, which I find interesting. Like the track kind of evolves, but it never feels like, you know, it's not like where you throw a drum and bass drops just so you don't have copy paste or whatever. But every bit is different, but it never feels jarring, which I find spectacular.
And the track is also super clean, like super clean.
And the melodies are so nice.
Yeah, like the use of the vocals that Drulu uses a lot.
Really good. Yeah, that's
such a good track. Yeah.
I'm trying to
generally regarded as one of the best tracks on the label. I'd say. Yeah,
I'm actually gonna take a look at that era because I remember 2016 is kind of slept on, but I think I mentioned in a previous episode why I remember that era so vividly. So I'm trying to check and see if there were any tracks released around the time of Bon Voyage that were also really, really good.
Like on Monster Cat?
Yeah, I'm doing Control F right now.
Control F on Catalog.
So right before it, we have Everything by Coven. So
holy shit.
Basically, case closed. Right before that, we have Killing Giants, and before that, we have Wake Up by Grant. Case closed, bro. Okay.
What the? It's literally like going backwards. Everything, Killing Giants, Wake Up by Grant, Telling Me by Coven.
Then the Variant EP.
Variant EP, Karma Field Sweat, Faint Words, Going Quantum Rare, Stephen Walking Hay, Rogue Nemesis, Tokyo Machine Fight, Arrow Chord Love and Hate, Puppet to Be Alive, and then like Jaws and San Holo, Kuro debut, and then like the first mediocre one being the BAMF.
I forgot Banff was even a song, but yeah,
bro,
this
what the fuck?
It's so overpowered, and bro, I didn't like. I know everyone talks about like 2014 and 2015 as like the golden age, but we were living in the golden age in 2016 and we didn't even know it. It's kind of sad. Almost
2016 is a great year for the label.
Yeah, and if you look slightly after,
like 2015, 2016, I'd say.
And if you look a little bit after, you have to skip a few tracks, but then you get into Back to Start and the Puppet EP, which is also quite solid. Like, dang. I think that's enough said. Yeah, such a solid, but back to Jump. Jump just isn't it for me. I don't know why. It just feels kind of like a wacky and off-putting drop, whereas Bon Voyage I feel feels much more cohesive, but I don't know. It's just me.
Yeah, I just really like how like off kilter the first drop is into the 4 on the floor second bit, which I think like is something that I think Drulu should do more because I think they're like very I don't know what I guess sort of like almost like they're like Chinese sound, like almost not like chime the dubstep but like chime the instrument.
Yeah.
Like that kind of style works so well in that like more up-tempo style for me.
It reminds me a little bit of, even though I do like this song, it reminds me a little bit of They Just Haven't Seen It. It's not like, but it's definitely a similar style, which, I don't know, personally I like They Just Haven't Seen It more, which I don't know why. I'll have to go back to Jump and see if I possibly changed my mind on it, but yeah, it's definitely a similar style there, which is, it's unique, I'll give it that. Moving forward, this one's also crazy to me. Medusa's already a year old.
God damn.
Like, is that the most recent Aobon release, or am I forgetting something?
Meant to be. And Fragments on Bitbird.
Oh yeah, their Bitbird release, but I still can't believe that it's already a year old. Personally, I'm not too huge on it. Like, it's a good track, but I'm not like top 5 on the comp or whatever. But it's solid, you know.
It's there and it's listenable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think a lot of like that future house style I like listened to death before joining Monster Cat. So a lot of like the stuff that is released on the label I've never seen as like interesting, really.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the bass house. Like if I didn't
true.
If I didn't listen and binge bass house before joining Monster Cat, I'd probably enjoy Abstract and all that.
Mm-hmm. And even with like Tokyo Machine, excluding Play, I think it's generally regarded that his best tracks are like the recent one. What was that one called?
Journey.
Yeah, Journey, like, which isn't bass house, and of course, you know, everyone knows the best Tokyo Machine track, the non-bass house one, Bad Boy. So like he's had a really solid rep with not with when he doesn't do, like, not to say that his bass house is always bad, because like, you know, Party and Okay are generally regarded as some of his really strong ones, but of course it's not like abstract or anything. But I do think that when you listen to some of his stuff, it can feel a bit samey, especially since he's been on the label for 4 years. I can't believe it, but he's been on the label for almost 4 years, and you know, a lot of his stuff from the recent few years has been quite similar. So
yeah, I will say, just like thinking about it, Okay is probably the closest Tokyo Machine. Like, a lot of the drop sounds sound like extremely similar to a project that the person behind the mask put out like a few years later. Like, it reminds me a lot of like the actual real person style. I don't know if we can actually like mention this on the podcast.
I think it's better not to, but
yeah, okay.
If you know, you know.
Do that.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. Yeah.
It's a lot of the sound design is similar and stuff. It's just that the main thing that's different is the theme, because, you know, on one side you got like dramatic world building, and on the other side you have like game, like video game type, which it's just supposed to be fun, which is, it can be done and can be done badly, and I think we've seen both cases with Tokyo Machine, but that's kind of like what he's usually going for.
I've grown tired of his style. Personally, I used to like him, like back in 2017 and all. So, you know, when I didn't really listen to Monster Cat, but I listened to like Tokyo Machine without knowing it was from Monster Cat. So and then I kind of grew tired of his style, because I listened to like Pickle a lot.
Oh yeah.
I mean, a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I like I mentioned, I like his recent one, Journey and Play, but a lot of his other ones, like Turbo and the Unmentionable one, definitely have not been as up to par as some of his older stuff.
Yeah.
So, moving on, we got another 8-year one, another oldie, Exoskelephone, which I think is not a very memorable one. I don't think that's any question. But
it's not very good.
I listened to it, and the production value is about the same as People Say, which is not that great. But the main difference is that I think People Say has a much more memorable concept, even if the production's not as good, whereas Exoskelephone, that drops like one note or something. Because Stereotronic, or however you pronounce his name, he has some, like, no holding on. Like, he has some solid tracks on the label, but this definitely is not one of them for me.
Yeah, like Stereotronic has two styles. One is like your commercial house, like Tonight and parts of No Holding On, and the other is just like noise wall electro. Like this Stock and Pull is like the only good example I can think of.
Here we go again.
Boom, 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 boom.
The one that I do like that's his electro style is the one, you're not going to believe it, but the one on 007 where everyone went ham for that one. Gravity, I think, is a pretty solid one because it has a memorable melody. I can actually remember it off the top of my head, despite not hearing it for a while.
This one's actually good.
Apparently 007 makes every artist good for some reason. It's so wacky.
That's actually a good song.
It's so weird, but I'm not complaining. If it's good music, I'll take it.
I'm kind of glad that like Stereotronic has kind of moved on to like I think his newest thing is KOB is like his new alias. And
Oh, he has
that's
a new alias? Bro, I was stuck
Yeah,
here
he
all
is-
this time thinking he just dipped releasing.
I think it's I'm gonna look it up. I think it's KOB KAYOBE.
Because I actually have heard a Kobe song before, like Steppin' or whatever, and that was
Yeah.
really neat. It doesn't, I would never have guessed that it's a Stereotronic, but
Yeah.
that's cool to hear. Yeah. Dang, I'll have to check
yeah,
out some of his stuff.
I'm fairly certain that that's what Stereotronic went to, which is quite a bit better than his electro stuff here.
Yeah, I'll have to take a listen after this. I don't know if you heard his other North End, his collab with North End that wasn't released on Monster Cat, but that one's Calm House, and I think it's pretty solid. Definitely better than Quake. But it's worth checking out.
The North End song I think is Ruzma, not Quake.
I knew it, but I was thinking of Quake for some reason. But yeah, Ruzma or however you pronounce it. I don't know why I was, because Quake is like the same but less iconically bad. But Ruzma's the Here We Go Again one.
Ruzma came out at like that very weird time where Monster Cat occasionally just tried to emulate Spin and Big Room.
Yeah, I think that's the around the same time Eminence made United was like around that time.
That's like it's like United, Chris Ramos, Togi, Dezeko, and Toros.
True. Yeah, because Chris, I mean, I say it Ramos, but I can see Ramos as well. I don't know which one's right, but he had a pretty solid one with Emergency, and then he's like, haha, spinning time.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's move on to our second to last one, which is turning 3 years old this past week.
Holy shit!
I
This
know.
one actually, I feel this one. I really feel this one.
How is Bone Dry 3 years? Like, I would have expected it to be like 2 years old or something. But Bone Dry turned 3 years old this past week. I can't even remember. I mean, I can't even fathom how old. I think it's even turning 4. Next month is Before We Fade. Dang, I remember when that one came out, and it's just kind of crazy to think, you know.
I love Bone Dry so much.
I haven't listened to it enough, but it's a good song.
I kind of stopped listening to it for a bit because when it came out in 2017, I heard it in Rocket League.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved it. Like that was at the time when I knew about Tristam, had listened to him in the past, but kind of forgot about him because I was too busy listening to like Abstract and Bass House and all that.
Yeah.
It just made me come back to his style again, and I've listened to Bone Dry ever since, and such a good track.
Yeah, I usually tend to forget about the Rocket League ones. I usually don't come back to them as much as I should, especially because the main reason why I come back to tracks a lot of the time is when we're like re-ranking an old compilation or something, and we don't ever rank the Rocket League one. So I always like, oh yeah, there's a track that exists, and then I go back to it. But yeah, it's a really good one. I should definitely go back to those Rocket League type tracks because there are some solid ones in those compilations, and this is definitely one of them.
Yeah,
Definitely my favorite on Volume 1.
I think part of this is that I don't listen to like the Rocket League stuff, but I've always confused like Bone Dry with Before We Fade.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I think of Bone Dry, I just think of Before We Fade, and
Yeah.
I just go listen to Before We Fade, and then I don't listen to this.
I remembered that because speaking of the 5-year anniversary, I remembered Blackout was a song that exists, and I was like, because I remember Melody Mania being the one that we were all waiting for it to come out for a long time with like the big room version, and then they pulled it, Heaven Let Us Down, except it was actually better this time. But that one came out afterwards, and I kind of forgot about Blackout after that. So I remembered it because I was looking for the Sound of the Police demo after actually last week's podcast, and then I was kind of mind blown. I'm like, it's been like 2 years since I've even remembered that this track existed. But
Blackout isn't very good.
yeah, I think really the main reason why I enjoy it more than I probably should is because usually if there's tracks that I've heard the preview of and the final version like Blackout is like the preview, then they tend to be a bit more special. It's the same deal with Comeback by Falcon Funk and Boss Fight. That one I heard the preview of like 2 years prior, so it it kind of like triggers something in your brain, so I enjoy it more than if I had never heard it prior. And then our last one is Roses by Dionne Custom. And I know I've been sleeping on Dionne Custom's music for a long time, but it's really nice, and Roses is definitely a really nice one by him. It's just
great.
I was gonna mention that I think the main thing is that none of them have been like exceptional for me, but they're all good, and I should just listen to them because they're good.
Yeah, I think I already mentioned that Bon Voyage by Drew Lewis, my favorite track. This is probably like number 3 or number 4. Like, I love the song to bits, and just like every part of like the song to like the, I guess also like the chimey like intro bit, the little melodic stuff to the like the little vocal sample that appears throughout the drop. I like love. Like, it's just like another like really well put together and cohesive track.
I wonder if Dionne's still doing stuff, because I haven't really heard much of his stuff outside of the label, so I wonder if he's still making music.
I think he is, but he isn't like really that active. He's on Bitbird.
Oh, really?
He appeared twice.
That's neat. Was it for like a release or like a remix pack?
One was for a Goldie and Finch compilation, and one was a standalone single.
Oh yeah, I remember the Goldie and Finch one, but I didn't know he had that other single, so I'll have to take a look at that. It's pretty neat.
The Goldie and Finch one is really good.
That's another. All 3 of them are ones that I listen to once and then I don't come back to them. Aside from what was that, Empty Crown by Yas or YAS or however you pronounce her name. Phenomenal. I've been coming back to that one, I can tell you that. That's a really solid track.
I'm just looking. Dionne Custom put out an EP last year.
That's pretty neat. I'll have to check that out. Add that on my list of things to do.
Dionne Custom, very good artist.
The only had those 3 releases, but still pretty solid. Something that I guess he's not like exactly the same, but something that he kind of reminds me of is he reminds me of back when Hush was very active on the label. It's not the same style, but it's kind of like that more chill future bass, at least with some of his stuff. And I think Hush is some of, if not the most unique kind of future bass that we've gotten on the label. Like, that guy's a mad lad.
I'd say the thing about Hush and Dionne Custom is that you can't really dislike their music. Like, there's not a lot to go on off to dislike the tracks. Like, it might not appeal to you, but you do have to admit that the track is impressive in its own right.
But also Dionne Custom's, like, especially Roses, reminds me a lot of Duskus's future bass before he switched to making house music. Like, especially like No Why and his deluxe remix that was on the label.
Yeah, I haven't heard a lot of Duskus's recent stuff, but I did hear one of his house tracks, and I was quite surprised because I don't know, I assumed that he'd still be making future bass, but I guess he's switched now.
Yeah, he just went full on house mode. I remember he like released Where to Go, and he was like, "This is my favorite track ever," and then he never stopped making house.
Yes, we're talking about Bitbird. I'd like to talk like a bit about what do you guys think about 2 Lanes right now? Like,
2 Lanes is on fire, bro.
They really are.
Once they had that Oath remix, which is one of my favorite tracks of the year, I don't think they've gotten back to that level, but they haven't flopped yet. All of their subsequent releases, I think they've had 2 afterwards, if I'm remembering correctly, that I heard, are both really good. I wouldn't say it's on the same level as the remix, but they're doing solid right now.
I've never been like the biggest fan of 2 Lanes. Like, I think for like their style is very much like on flavor, chill out style stuff. But I think like they're a really good fit for Bitbird, and everything that they release that I'm like not a fan of, I can like respect the production of it.
Yeah. It reminds me a bit of Cloud None, but less airy, like with less of like an ambience and an atmosphere, and a little more like, I don't want to say minimal, but like, you know, it's a little more upfront, but it's still like the same kind of like chill and like with the really good chord progressions. And
Like Closer is actually fucking insane.
yeah, that one's really good.
Yeah.
Closer also reminds me of Skyline, which again is one of my favorite tracks on Monster Cat.
I
So
can see that.
Yeah, it's just like with like an instrumental version.
without the suspiciously not safe for work lyrics.
Yeah, Karma Fields has, you know, they brand it as weird and experimental, but is that really what's going on, Karma Fields? Or do you have something that you want to tell us? Do you want to take that quiz?
But how can Karma Fields do that if it's an artificial intelligence?
Bruh moment.
Remember when they went with that for like a while?
I do remember. I was there for that. Yeah.
I wasn't.
Oh. The biggest surprise for Karma Fields, because, you know, they start out with Build the Cities, which feels like a weird track, but when you actually take a look at it, it isn't that weird, but like it has some like weird elements to it that make it seem kind of like robotic, I guess. But then once you get Stick Up, then that was like a slam to the face, because
Yeah.
that would have been the last thing I was expecting from Karma Fields. And yeah, very, yeah.
It's like that one release that they have like every year or so. It's like Stick Up or Talisman by Lucid or Venus Flytrap by Kill Paris, where it's just like, it's so weird that it divides the community's opinion on it.
Mm-hmm. Boom.
It's so good.
Boom is like the opposite, because Boom is so, well, actually it is weird, but it's like not like weird production wise, but I don't know, but you know what I'm saying, that it's weird, but it's not like weird like the Karma Fields tracks are. But yeah, Karma Fields split the community with almost every release. Like Stick Up did, Greatness did, Sweat did, and I'm sure a few other ones where it's either you, but the weird thing is that it's either you despise the track or you love the track. There's not a whole lot of in between, which I think is kind of, it's kind of an interesting thing. But I guess it is kind of a good thing, because whether you're on either side of the spectrum, you still care about the track, whether you like it or don't like it. You know, instead of just like not paying attention to it, which I think is kind of a neat thing that they were able to pull off.
I didn't listen to Karma Fields' album until last year, until I started like listening to the label properly. So I when I found out that this year actually, when I found out that they received a lot of hate
Yeah.
and stuff and divided the community, I was really confused because I thought the album was amazing. So,
Yeah.
but I definitely see why that would happen, because some of the tracks were pretty experimental, especially for like that time.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really like Stick Up or Scandal. Those were like my personal least favorites. But
Scandal's another really
other than
divisive
that-
one.
Yeah, Scandal is, as we talked about like on another episode,
Yeah.
Scandal is awkward.
Although I think unlike their other tracks, unless there's a group that I don't want to be around, but unlike their other tracks, I don't think there has that group that loves it. But if there is, I mean, I respect your opinion, but if you're blasting Scandal through the speakers in a mall, I'm going to be leaving.
I don't know what you're listening to love Scandal, but okay. My man actually listens to
Bruh. To Redacted.
Redacted on the speakers.
S'il vous plaît.
Yes.
But speaking of the album, the deluxe album was another slap in the face from Karma Fields, because I know I said Stick Up was the last thing I was expecting from them, but then also, I mean, we had Skyline acoustic, but like literal classical renditions of their tracks is also among the last things that I'd expect from them. Yeah, Cats?
They're all fucking incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really care for the Stick Up one or Scandal either, but Build the Cities and For You,
Oh yeah.
so good. Among the best tracks on the label, which is surprising.
Yeah.
I look at like the talent that Karma Fields has, and I sometimes like wonder if the person behind Karma Fields does like almost like secret ghost producing for like experimental pop acts, because like he has such like a like the person behind it only had like one project before it, but even then like there's a lot of like talent that would take like almost decades of like experience in the industry to get.
Genuinely impressive, like actually.
And then they kind of dipped, at least on the label, because they did Shapes, which I need to come back to, but that one was a kind of interesting one. And then they had that other album,
Body Rush.
yeah, Body Rush, which had some solid tracks, but similarly to many of the other ones that we've talked about here, I simply haven't listened to it enough to get in love with any of the tracks, but I will admit that they're unique and well made.
Yeah,
Body Rush
I'd
would almost
say,
be like a better fit for Monster Cat than New Age Dark Age would have.
yeah. But honestly, Body Rush, in my opinion, isn't as interesting or as phenomenal as New Age Dark Age. You definitely have some slappers. I'd say like the Super Mega Tokyo or whatever it was called. That one's amazing. But the title track, if it wasn't that repetitive, I don't know if you guys remember it off the top of your head, but it had some potential. But
I think the main thing that I noticed is that there, at least to my memory, there's a lot less energy in that album, and it's a lot more progressive than New Age Dark Age.
Yeah.
Which is the main thing where it could seem less interesting, but I do think that the production quality is still there, and it's definitely one that I should give another shot, because you know there chances are there are some probably really well made tracks on there.
I don't know if this is like a guilty pleasure of some sorts, but that this track had like a really long name on that album. I don't know. It was like the Underground of
System of
Machines.
Forgotten Machines.
Yeah, that one. I don't know if it's like a guilty pleasure, but I absolutely love that one too.
Yeah, I
Something
enjoy
about
it.
like the way it uses the sirens and all, it's really cool.
Just like All Night. Ooh,
Yep,
connections.
and that's why I love that track so much too.
I always like, I think like the Underground System track is pretty good, but it always like it's like a common thing for me where like a track will come out and then a better version of that track will come out and I just listen to the other one. And that case,
or
is,
the
like,
other way around, right? Because you mentioned with the Plusol
like,
track.
like with Forever and the Plusle track. But Karma Fields, it was a non-album single called Code 1031, which follows like a very similar style to Underground System, but I think does it a lot better.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I need to listen to more of their stuff, bro. I haven't checked up on them in a while, so they could literally have made track of the year and I wouldn't know. That's not okay.
I binged Karma Fields recently, like around when quarantine started in my country. Like in March, I binged Karma Fields. Like actually binged Karma Fields. I had like 70 plays in a month.
Dang. Was their album self-released or did they do it on a different label?
I'm not sure. I haven't checked.
It was self-released.
All right. Yeah, it would be kind of imagine if Karma Fields went on like NCS or something, everyone would die.
Yeah. Well, the Body Rush like would be a good fit on like Mousetrap.
Yeah, I can see them on Mousetrap for sure. That that I can certainly see. But if you throw, let's say, Scandal, just like it gets on, spinning. Well, most of spinning releases aren't even listened to for some reason because they just upload so much music that
it's funny.
It's almost like a dice game where it's like, is your track gonna blow up or is it just gonna get like less than 100,000 views? You know?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Ultra Music, because they're really big, but they only have like one track a month that blows up, and then the rest has like 15,000 views.
Yeah.
Though some of the majority of spinning tracks are like very mediocre, I'd say.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Although a lot of the ones on, like, they have some good ones on their sub labels, but I only look at them on the channel, so I can barely distinguish on like, Like, is it from Spinnin' or is it from Musical Freedom or Dharma or whatever,
I think I like gave up on spinning records after I think like there was an artist debuted that was just a cartoon pickle.
Pickle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I
Not good G House, but with cartoon pickle.
That guy is a madman because his entire brand is I put zero effort into this track and I got it and it was huge. And then he put zero effort into a track and it gets huge. It's amazing, honestly. Like, I don't care for the tracks at all, but the brand itself, stroke of genius.
For sure, but
It's literally just Pickle, and the music videos are so wacky, bro.
the animation is cool. I'll give him that, but the rest is
The rest is redacted.
Yeah.
redacted very much so.
So there's a scientist, and he turned himself into a pickle, and then he made a #1 hit on spinning records. Funniest shit I've ever seen.
Bro, that's so funny.
Yeah.
I'm literally about to laugh.
But I won't lie. You think could be a Pickle song, and I wouldn't know the difference.
Oh no, yeah, it could. Holy crap, it could. Yeah.
I can't unthink that.
Can't wait for the abstract and pickle collab.
Guys, I mentioned you think. Now I can use the Martin Borger thumbnail. So epic.
Okay.
I can't wait till we're like using a like a Fowler meme and Fowler comments on the video or something.
That would be kind of epic. Yeah, we gotta have like I mean, my original intention was for each episode the meme to get dumber each time, but I think we're getting close to rock bottom.
Yeah, we've already like hit the limit.
Nah. I mean, the party stopped one was pretty close to rock bottom, but
True. What was last week's?
Spinning
spinning.
records.
Oh yeah.
that one's I'd say that one's rock bottom.
Can't believe it. They fixed the logo.
The Martin Borger one is not as bad as the spinning.
Yeah.
It's just like the whole the joke is so dumb though. I mean, like the joke is dumb for all three of them, but bro, it's just a burger and that's the entire joke.
You think?
I listened to some of his other stuff and it was definitely the same as you think.
Boy.
Yeah, his style is drums that people can get down to, and like we mentioned before recording, very easy to mix for the DJ so that they can play it at their sets,
Mm-hmm.
and
Pickle type beat.
Pickle type beat. Enough said.
What
New
if
genre, pickle vibes.
What if Pickle is Martin Hort? Like, what if they are the same person?
Bro, that would be
Like,
quite the plot twist.
You don't know that.
What if Pickle is?
We've never
owner
seen
of
Pickle
Spinning
and Martin Borger in the same room. I'm just saying.
I'm saying, what if Pickle's the owner of Spinning Records himself?
That would almost make sense.
That could
It would.
that's literally Spinnin's version of Sabai, or Going
Bruh.
Quantum or whatever.
Yeah. I think it was like when Hexagon was just starting, they put out their first generation Hex compilation, and there was a track by a group called Nom Nom, who have never released anything since.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly, it's a collaboration it's a collab project between Don Diablo and Sid. And it's a decent like house track, but they've like never touched the alias since.
Yeah, Hexagon is quite good, but their sub-label for like Tech House or whatever, and Low-Key, which we know is half of Project 46, released a collab on there, and I don't want to go this far, but it just might be worse than Pickle music, because it's like Pickle music, but there's less going on. I'm trying to. I think it was like King Arthur is what I was getting it from.
Oh yeah, King Arthur.
Yeah, King Arthur and Loki Down With Me. I don't remember what the sub-label's called, but Loki's remix of Play was pretty nice. It's not like they're a bad artist, but this certainly not their strongest, to say the least.
Like, there's more than one King Arthur and Loki collab. There's like 3.
The one I'm talking about is Down With Me. I haven't even heard the other two, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're the same tier.
One is on Martin Garrix's label.
Stamped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just today we mentioned 3 different labels that were started by artists that got big, which were Hexagon, Stamped, and Bitbird. And I think Bitbird is doing the weakest out of all of those, unfortunately. But
well, I think in like EDM, they're definitely doing the worst. But they're like, out of the 3, they're definitely the one that's like crafting their own sound the most.
Like, out of like the music quality, definitely the best. But out of like getting like exposure, unfortunately, the wacky thing about future bass is that future bass is arguably the biggest genre in EDM, maybe aside from trap if you count that as EDM and not hip hop or whatever. But it's like, because like with the Chainsmokers making it huge, and it's like in pop and everywhere, and like that Millennium track was on the radios and everything.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, if you don't make that specific super poppy style of future bass, then it's like micro genre. No one's ever heard of it. Future bass couldn't be me. Like, you have to make that specific super poppy kind of style of future bass, and it'll explode if you got money. But otherwise, if you're making any other type of that humongous genre, then it just gets completely looked past, which is what's happening to Bitbird, sadly.
Speaking of Big Bird and labels, I just remember that what I was gonna say, like the Poggers news that I talked about before.
Oh yeah.
There's like a 99% chance that we're gonna be getting a Roman Silver release.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
and that's
epic.
Super Poggers.
Well, yeah, because I think like his recent EP was posted on r/MonsterCat, and somebody commented, show this guy some love, and then Monster Cat Media replied, okay, we will. And then Roman Silver himself posted that he has a project with a label that he really likes coming soon, and somebody took a screen cap of that comment and he did an eyes emote.
Nice.
So there's like a 99% chance we're getting.
That would be so huge, though. Honestly,
it's gonna be amazing.
I really hope that if it does happen, that it's not a one-off like half of the other Bitbird artists, Cough, Tasca Black.
Please, no.
That's kind of the problem, is that every Bitbird artist except for Drew Liu and San Holo have just made one release or collab and left.
Yeah, and then they call it a day. Hard work done. I really don't know what... I mean, I don't want to assume that it's like perhaps like a bad A&R or something that's driving them away, but maybe they're just like chiller with Bitbird or whatever. But yeah, it's kind of sad to see when you hit gold with an artist joining the label and then they just dip immediately,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, might have to do with some of the experimental stuff. Like they want to experiment more, maybe.
Yeah,
but
could be, because I wouldn't even say that Monster Cat doesn't like experimental music, but Monster Cat fans don't like experimental music, especially the new ones that joined in like the past 2 years. It could easily turn into another Karma Field situation, which I think, even though a lot of people respect and enjoy Karma Field's music, it still must have, been pretty upsetting to see such a strong negative reaction to your music, which I think Monster Cat is trying to play it safe a little bit and not release anything too out there. They've done some stuff with like Just a Gent and Glacier that's like pushing it a bit, but nothing crazy,
Yeah, like they kind of have like their like experimental artist that just releases once every 3 months.
Yeah. And that's it.
Is fairly experimental. Sound design.
Yeah, it's like experimental sound design, but not experimental composition, which I think is what's keeping him so popular. And even then, he joined the label with New Dawn, which is arguably his least experimental track, and then he kind of popped off.
This year, he's like experimenting so much with his style. It's actually fascinating.
Like that second drop of To You. Yeah.
That second drop of To You is actually so good.
It's some of his probably most different stuff he's done, at least on the label. I know For Me is really wacky as well, but unfortunately we were not blessed with that on the label.
Yeah. Back to Bitbird, I just kind of find it funny that Knapsack is the only artist to both appear on Bitbird and be reviewed by Anthony Fantano. I think like Dictate appeared on the first one, Knapsack and Plusle appeared on the same episode, Refrac appeared on the most recent.
Yeah, that guy's, I think he's probably the most well-known internet reviewer, and it's all because of that heckin' damn boy meme.
Damn boy Keith, and also because he gave that Kanye album a 6 out of 10, and nobody will forgive him.
And I remember when he gave Worlds a 5, and so many people were so mad about that.
Yeah, there's been a few. There's like I think he also gave like the newest Eden album a 4, which got everybody really upset.
I saw that one, but I found his reasonings to be quite reasonable. Ha 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 pun. But so that was actually quite surprising. I was expecting some like BS or whatever, but it was actually like I could actually see where he was coming from. You know, everybody gangsta till Anthony Fantano reviews a Muzz track and gives it below a 10. He just
everybody
pops up.
gangsta until my man gets rated from 1 to 10 by Anthony Fantano himself.
Yeah, this new Muzz track, it's not good.
Ooh, no, Muzz will personally go and physically attack Fantano in his house.
What was it? There was like a, I forget, I think it was like a Gunna album that was released recently that was just like my favorite Fantano videos are just ones where he just breaks format and it's just like some like weird absurdist stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a review of like the newest Gunna album where basically the entire joke was that it was so unremarkable that he literally couldn't give it a rating. And I think like in the description it said that it was an Omega out of 10.
Nice. We gotta remember how to finish this out, so
Support us on Patreon.
subscribe to our OnlyFans. Wait. That's it. That's the whole thing.